New York City is located in the northeastern region of the United States of America. It is the most populated city in the U.S. as well. The city is divided into 5 boroughs, and we spent 48 hours in the borough of Manhattan. We stayed at the Nickenbocker Hotel, which is located just off of Times Square. This is a 5-star luxury hotel, and it's quite beautiful inside. Our room was very large considering the location. The beds were very comfortable, the fixtures were all modern, the lighting was modern, it had USB ports, it had everything you need. The in-room bar and fridge were as well stocked. Our only gripe was that one of the doors didn't close all the way, which triggered an interior light, so we had to end up moving a piece of furniture in front of it, which is not something you would expect at a nice hotel like this. After we settled in, we walked to the famous Macy's department store off of Herald Square to check out the famous holiday window displays. Then we were off to Bryant Park to check out the European-style open-air holiday markets. We got a bite to eat, we checked out the ice skating rink, then we headed over to the other side of Bryant Park to check out the New York City Public Library. This is the 3rd largest library in the world. From there, we headed down 5th Avenue to St. Patrick's Cathedral. This cathedral started construction in 1858, and it was restored in 2012, which you can tell when you go inside because everything is super clean, the ceiling, it looks fantastic. So we walked around there for a little bit. A couple of requiem masses were given here for popular people such as Babe Ruth, Roger Maris, Ed Sullivan, Robert F. Kennedy, and Vince Lombardi, to name a few. Rockafeller Center is a complex of Art Deco buildings. The ice skating rink, the statue of Prometheus, and the fantastic Christmas tree can all be found here, as well as some businesses and other shopping. Oh, and Radio City Music Hall where the Rockettes perform. Then we headed back towards Times Square via the M&M store. Times Square is a commercial intersection. It has lots of stores, big electric billboards, and lots of people. It's been called the crossroads of the world. There are approximately 330,000 people who walk through Times Square daily. This is also where the ball drops on New Year's Eve. Finally, we had a late-night dinner at Carmine's. The next morning, we had an early wake-up call before we headed into the subway to take a ride downtown. We made our way to the Battery, which is a park on the southernmost point of Manhattan. From there, we went to an old fort called Castle Clinton. This was the first U.S. immigration station. Now it's National Park Service offices and visitor center. It's also where you catch the ferry to Liberty and Ellis Islands, and you have to go through security here as well. It takes the ferry approximately 15 minutes to move between Castle Clinton and Liberty Island. Once on Liberty Island, it's a short walk to the Statue of Liberty Museum, which opened in 2016. Inside, we learned about the design, construction, and the symbolism. And there were some life-size replicas of the face and the feet. Even the original torch, which was replaced in the 80s, is in there. Just outside the museum, there is a fantastic view of Lower Manhattan. The statue itself looks amazing, although the pedestal is much bigger than I had originally thought. So we didn't pay to go up into the pedestal or up into the statue, but of course you can do that. Another 10 to 15 minute ferry ride and you'll be at Ellis Island. Between 1892 and 1924, Ellis Island was the arrival point for approximately 12 million immigrants. Not only did we have ancestors who arrived through Ellis Island, but we also had ancestors arriving through Castle Clinton. The museum is interesting. We learned a lot about the intake process for new arrivals. Our visit was quick but good, and we soon found ourselves back on the ferry headed back to Manhattan. Fraunces Tavern, which was celebrating its 300th anniversary, was also the location that General George Washington bid farewell to the officers of the Continental Army after defeating the British in the Revolutionary War. After filling up on chicken pot pie and French toast, we walked over to check out the Charging Bull statue, a very busy place with an incredibly long line to take pictures with the bull's testicles. We continued up Broadway past the Trinity Church, where Alexander Hamilton is buried, as well as many other notable New Yorkers. A couple more blocks away, we stopped at the 9/11 Memorial South Pool. The memorial is an emotional place. Unfortunately, we hadn't set aside enough time to visit the museum, which we will definitely do on our next trip to New York City. Then it was back on the subway to Midtown. We had dinner at the Hard Rock Cafe in Times Square. This is something that we do in most of the cities that we travel to. The Hard Rock contains some fantastic memorabilia in its collection. After dinner, we tried, with no luck, to hail a cab to Central Park, so we had to walk/run the 15 blocks to be there in time for our carriage ride. The ride was nice. Our guide pointed out the points of interest, and our horse Rebecca delivered a smooth ride. I can't think of a better way to end the day. Up early the next day, we had breakfast at the Brooklyn Diner in Times Square. The hot chocolate was delivered with the largest marshmallow I have ever seen. Other than that, the food was good, but very expensive, but I suppose we were in Times Square. With bellies full, we walked to the Empire State Building. We arrived shortly after it opened in hopes of beating the crowd. Although it currently stands as the 48th tallest building in the world, when it was completed in 1931 it was the tallest. We walked through the exhibit learning about the construction, but the best part was the King Kong exhibit. The elevator ride is amazingly fast, and a movie is shown on the ceiling of the elevator car showing the construction while we traveled to the 80th floor, a landing spot where you can change elevators on your way to the 86th floor observatory. The 80th floor has great views and is completely enclosed, so you don't have to contend with the weather. We snapped some pictures there and then moved up to the 86th floor observation deck. This is why you're there, and it doesn't disappoint. You can see all of New York City's notable places, like the Brooklyn Bridge, Central Park, the Statue of Liberty, and so much more. We exited through the iconic lobby. It was a great experience and absolutely worth it. We walked back to the hotel, checked out, and drove to the Upper West Side to visit the American Museum of Natural History. Unfortunately, most of the exhibits on culture were closed, as well as ocean life, but we did see the North American mammals, African mammals, and the dinosaur exhibits. I think I was the only one who really enjoyed this stop. It was not so long ago that this is how people could see what animals and faraway people and places look like. In the age of television and transportation and the internet, a museum like this loses some of the wonder that it once had. We even said hi to Teddy before we left. And that's how we spent 48 hours in New York City.